Good morning. This is the time and place for the zoning case hearing for February 20th, 2019. My name is Milka Toledo, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. We have two cases scheduled for today for the same address, and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. These two cases will be heard together. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms which have been provided by the front door and submitted to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of this hearing are recorded as part of the public record. Notification. Notification of the hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices which were mailed to property owners and tenants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing would proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application request. The case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward stating both the name and address and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the application, or in this case, lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case will be taken under submission or decision may be made. Today we have a variance and administrative exception. Variance case number PVAR 1828024 located at 236 South Glendale Avenue. And an administrative exception PAE 1828025. And I'll briefly describe the request for a variance is to reduce the landscape planter width adjacent to the sidewalk in conjunction with the demolition of an existing full-service car wash and construction of a new self-service car wash. 7 bays are proposed, and an administrative exception request to increase the driveway curb openings to 59.3%, where 52% is the maximum, a total deviation of 14.06% in the C3 commercial service zone, described as lots 16 and 17, block 3 of the Glendale Orange Grove tract. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.43, and Chapter 30.44 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance and administrative exception shall be granted if the required findings are present. Variances require 4 findings to be made, and the administrative exception requires 3 findings to be made. As it relates to findings, if the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the required findings, then the hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Appeals. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, 30.6, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain the forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Permit Services section located on the same floor of this building. So at this time, I would like the case planner, Danny Manasarian, to make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation, and then I'll open the public hearing portion of this hearing.
Good morning, Ms. Toledo. I'm going to go through the findings, and then you can ask me any questions. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing full-service car wash and construct a new self-service car wash with 7 bays. The applicant is applying for a standards variance to reduce the landscape planter width adjacent to the sidewalk. a 5-foot landscape width on South Glendale Avenue, and a 3-foot landscape width on Orange Grove Avenue, where 10 feet is required. In addition, the applicant is applying for an administrative exception, proposing an increase to 59.3% for the driveway curb openings, where 52% is the maximum curb opening length. This is a total deviation of 14.06%, where up to 20% is allowed. Staff does believe that all 4 findings can be made in a positive way to allow the demolition of the existing full-service car wash and construction of a new self-service car wash without providing the required landscape planter widths adjacent to the sidewalk. The strict application of the zoning ordinance in this circumstance would result in practical difficulties and unnecessary hardship, inconsistent with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. Section 30.34.030C of the Glendale Municipal Code requires landscaping and planting at a width of 10 feet adjacent to all street frontages, except for necessary walkways and driveways. The applicant will provide a 5-foot landscape width on South Glendale Avenue and a 3-foot landscape width on Orange Grove, where 10 feet is required. A total of 722 square feet of landscape is being proposed, more than the existing landscape on the lot. Due to the shape and size of the lot, the applicant cannot meet all of the zoning standards. The goal of requiring 10 feet of landscaping is to provide a separation between the sidewalk and car wash and to provide visual interest. Providing 10 feet of landscaping on South Glendale Avenue and Orange Grove Avenue to meet current code would create a practical difficulty, resulting in a hardship. Vehicles would not be able to easily pull into a wash bays, and the flow of traffic would be disturbed. Additional landscaping cannot be located anywhere else on the lot without disturbing the flow of traffic or impeding on required parking spaces, including backup areas. Therefore, providing a 10-foot landscape buffer adjacent to the sidewalk would be considered a hardship. There are exceptional circumstances applicable to this property that does not apply to other properties that meet the minimum 12,500 square foot lot size requirement for a car wash. This lot is a corner lot with frontages on both South Glendale Avenue and Orange Grove Avenue. Unlike other lot configurations within the city, this property with frontage on both streets creates exceptional circumstances that make it difficult to provide the full 10 feet of landscape buffers adjacent to the sidewalk. Landscape buffers of 3 and 5 feet are proposed to meet the intent of the code while also being able to provide adequate circulation of cars maneuvering within the property. Granting approval of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the surrounding properties and vicinity. There has been a full-service car wash located at 236 South Glendale Avenue for the last 71 years with no major issues and without the required landscape buffer. Providing reduced landscape widths adjacent to the sidewalk, the self-service car wash will add a landscape buffer that did not exist previously and therefore will not be materially detrimental to the surrounding properties. The impact of the reduced landscape buffers associated with the proposed self-service car wash is not expected to result in any negative effects that would burden the neighborhood and negatively impact the surrounding properties. The granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance in providing a self-service car wash that is well-designed and efficient, and that consideration of reduced landscape buffers are appropriate in the promotion of the health, safety, and general welfare. For the administrative exception, I'm going to go through the findings. The applicant's proposing 59.3 driveway curb openings, where 52% is the maximum. Total deviation, like I said before, 14.06. The entrance of the car wash on Orange Grove Avenue features 2 separate driveways, each 34 feet wide, where vehicles will pull in to be washed. The configuration and size of the lot precludes the project from full compliance with code requirements. Having an extra 4 feet of driveway width on each driveway off of Orange Grove Avenue will improve the on-site traffic flow. By requiring the driveway width to be about 30 feet instead of 34, customers will have a difficult time pulling into the lot. Granting of the exception will result in improved on-site traffic circulation. The proposed 59.3% driveway curb openings will result in 8 feet of additional driveway width on Orange Grove Avenue. The purpose of increasing driveway openings is to make traffic flow more efficiently. The increase in size will not only benefit traffic flow by reducing the queuing of cars on Orange Grove, but also improve on-site traffic circulation, and therefore will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare of the neighborhood. The subject proposal meets the majority of zoning code requirements for a new self-service car wash, including the minimum lot size, parking height, and other requirements. The purpose of the administrative exception procedure is to provide a simplified means for considering applications for minor deviations from code standards. These standards have been developed to allow reasonable use of properties in order to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. The proposed driveway widths on Orange Grove Avenue will provide adequate space for vehicles to pull in and be washed. A granting of this exception to deviate from the code by 14.06% will allow reasonable development of the site, and therefore granting the exemption will not be contrary to the objectives of the applicable regulations. Staff did receive comments from Public Works Engineering, Water and Power, and Urban Forestry, which are included in the draft conditions of approval. No other city departments had major concerns regarding the application.
So no comments received from neighborhood services, and
No.
so the record shows that the previous use, there wasn't an issue having a car wash there.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And staff didn't receive any letters from the public.
In
either.
opposition or
Yeah,
in
no
favor?
emails or phone calls regarding, the subject application. Staff does believe that all findings for the variance and administrative exception can be made in a positive manner, and therefore recommends approval of these entitlements. Staff suggests the planning hearing officer consider the attached draft findings and conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
A couple of questions. One of them I just want to emphasize. So GWP specifically identified the one comment regarding the variance that the project must provide electrical load calculations to GWP and request a meter spot for the new electrical meter panel for the new building or structure. The existing electrical meter and panels and utility service must be removed prior to demolition. It seems like all the other comments are standard, as well as the public works comments are pretty standard. And then there were some specific comments from urban forestry.
Correct.
Regarding the installation of a new street tree wells on Glendale Avenue to mitigate for the loss of the open soil parkway space on Orange Grove Avenue.
Yes.
And please provide more details on the availability of space in the right-of-way on Glendale Avenue with species determined by forestry staff. And so that leads me to a question regarding what I see in the landscape plan. There's some planters proposed in the parkway. Is that to the satisfaction of Public Works?
Yes, I believe the applicant did check with the urban forestry, and those were the
What's identified on the plans
Yes.
they reviewed?
Yes.
Do you know well, before I ask you this question, I'd like to clarify so that the record shows the zoning to the east or east of the
Yes.
site is C3
Correct,
commercial
Correct.
District 1,
Yes.
not R2250.
It's not multifamily.
Okay, and what is identified in the staff report as an alley is not an alley, it's actually a private driveway.
Correct.
Okay. How many parking spaces are provided and how many are required by code?
I believe provided, I believe, are 11.
11? Okay.
Yes, and by code, it is 1 per bay plus 2 additional, so 9.
So essentially, they have a surplus of 2 spaces. Do you happen to know the width, and I might have not asked you this before, and if you don't know it, that's okay, I'll ask the applicant. The width that is being proposed along Glendale Avenue, the new driveway width?
The new driveway width along Glendale Avenue.
If you don't know it, that's
The
okay.
applicant,
Well, I'll ask the
Yeah.
applicant, okay. So then the planter, the 5-foot planter is this one up here
Right.
in the corner?
Mhm.
And I don't see any, and then there's
They comply with the
landscape
10
proposed here.
feet of
That
the-
complies, but it's this one that doesn't
that
comply.
corner and the one on Orange Grove, which
And
is at
this
3
one
feet.
here,
Mhm.
do these two comply?
Those are at 3 feet.
Okay, so
they're
those as
asking
well
for the- Yes.
would be part of that variance.
It's part of the
request.
variance, yeah. Along Orange Grove and a small portion
Okay,
of Glendale Avenue. And the rest, they made 10 feet work.
and I want to ask the applicant about this non-building pop-out, because technically it's part of the building, so even if it's an embellishment to the building, we need to set that back, so I'll ask the applicant to refer to that and describe that a little more.
Did you want to know the existing driveway width right now? on
Sure,
Glendale
if you
Avenue?
have it, yeah, that would help.
Yeah, so it's 69, so it is 67% right now,
Currently,
current.
for the entire frontage. 'Cause
For Glendale Avenue, yeah.
only,
Mhm.
okay. Tell me the percentage again?
67.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Danny. And now I would like to open the public portion of the hearing and ask the first speaker, Richard Abahi, to please come forward and state your name and address. And I'm going to ask you to go over those variance findings for me in the AE, basically reiterating how this project complies with those or addresses those findings and why it should be approved.
Okay. My name is Richard Ajabi with 236 South Glendale Avenue. I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, well, if you can go over the findings first, and then I'll hold off on my questions.
Okay. With the first finding, it states, how would the granting of a exception result in design improvements, or how do the space restrictions of the site preclude full compliance with code requirements without hardship? Vehicle access will be from Orange Grove, a lower traffic road than Glendale Avenue, and granting of the exception will result in improved circulation in order to minimize possible conflicts between new car wash users and users of abutting streets. Having wider driveways will help vehicles maneuver more quickly to enter this corner lot, therefore lowering the chance of a rear-end collision. Also, all vehicles will have additional maneuvering area as to create multiple tandem waiting lines for incoming cars on site to prevent a queue on the public street.
Okay, so let's go back to that a minute then. To comply with code, and this is specifically related to the administrative exception request, you need to have 30 feet maximum for those driveway widths in order
Correct.
to meet the 52%.
Correct, 30 and 30.
Exactly.
Which is 60.
So right now you're proposing 34 and 34.
Yes.
And if you were to comply with code, it sounds like there would be some traffic circulation
There would be.
compromising there.
Yes, it would just be a little bit more harder for customers to turn in. When you have wider access, it's faster for customers to turn into the property and enter the stalls. Also, with being that wide, the stalls are centered to the bays, which have them just drive straight in, and it would be faster to get off the street into the property.
Let me ask you about a scenario. If all bays are occupied, where does, and someone else or maybe multiple vehicles come in and they need to occupy bay to get their car washed? Where do they
That's
idle?
That's a good question. We have a buffer zone of 25 feet, so we can fit 6 to 7 cars between each stalls behind each other.
Okay, so if you could come up here if you'd like. So
Sure.
where's that buffer zone? In this area in here? There's 22
Yeah, so
feet.
Cars pull up in the spots,
Yes.
and then they come in and they can wait behind each other. Also, with 7 bays, the turnaround time is so fast that we don't have much delay.
So if I have this 34-foot width, it would enable multiple vehicles, let's say one vehicle to kind of come and idle here,
Correct.
then the other one here, so that it would avoid some sort of
Exactly. No, there
Jam.
will not be any type of queuing or congestion
Into
onto
the street.
into the public right of way.
And this 34-foot width is what enables that to occur?
Yes.
To avoid any idling on the street, which
Correct.
is what we want to avoid?
Yes. And it's just a lot more easier access to get in when you're turning a corner with a wider driveway. Usually people start off in the middle, not on the edge.
Right.
So it just gives it more comfortable for people to enter.
And if you have it narrower, then that also, like you said, would potentially, they may, I don't know, run into maybe a landscape planter.
Yeah, they would hit this maybe a little bit of the curb.
curb.
It's just easier for everyone to just drive in. Whenever you have easier access to a property, it becomes more inviting for customers to come in and use the facility.
Now that leads me to the other question. If you were to comply with code and increase the width of those landscape planters both along Glendale Avenue and Orange Grove, how would complying with the code become a problem? Where do you see the issue here?
With the regular shape of the property, we require more landscaping on one corner and also the size of the lot. If we put a buffer of 10 feet landscaping all around, and we included 10 feet all around except for a certain portion
Sure.
on Glendale, and it goes to 3 feet on Orange Grove. But just by entering the stalls will be a little bit harder to get into,
Okay.
and not as easy for customers
Okay.
and the establishment to.
So the flow of traffic would be
Exactly.
compromised?
Yes.
Or a circulation within?
Circulation flow, and also it'll be compromised.
What is the new, so you're going to close the majority of the entire driveway on
Correct.
Glendale Avenue, except you're going to leave this portion
Yes,
open?
as an exit
How
only.
how wide is that going to be?
It's about 30 feet.
Okay. And then these will be then the third. So this one would comply, obviously, with code, and it's just the opening.
It's just the
Along
openings
Orange Grove.
are a few extra feet. Usable space is actually 30 because we're measuring from end to end.
Sure.
The actual usable is 30 because no one drives on because it's a sloped driveway where it goes down, and that's about 2 feet, and this is about 2 feet. So realistically, it's 30 feet usable.
So what I've heard from you is the uniqueness of the site is why you need this. You have unique circumstances here. How you're still trying to comply with code, so you're still proposing areas of the 10-foot width of the landscape requirements to comply, and still meeting the objectives of the ordinance. And you're also minimizing or trying to reduce any potential traffic impacts or circulation issues, which could be potentially detrimental to the general public or the welfare, and therefore that's why this variance and the administrative exception is being requested.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we're bringing ingress on Orange Grove, which is a side street, non-signalized. It's also not through street on the other end. This street doesn't get used that much. Just,
Sure.
Not too many people are driving.
Now,
through the
right
street.
now it's red, right? There's red.
No, there's only portion is
Portion?
red where the catch basin is.
Okay.
The rest is
But parking would still not, once you close, parking's still not going to be allowed? I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
I'd have to check with our traffic
on Glendale-
engineering staff.
on Glendale. I don't know what. I mean, I guess you can park.
Because right now, obviously, it's all driveway, you can't park.
Exactly.
So I don't know, once they construct the curb, how that would be painted, I don't know. Because portions along South Glendale is red curb, where directly across the street, you can park. And north of the site, you can park on the east side of the street. So I guess that would be a question in the future for our traffic engineering staff, if they're going to paint that curb red. Speaking of the traffic engineering, before I continue to ask you more questions, Danny, really quick, did we receive comments, or did our traffic engineering staff provide any input?
Yes, they reviewed one of the,
And specifically, I'm referring to the new location of the driveway along Orange Grove.
correct.
What was their feedback?
I did speak to them, and they reviewed one of the conditions that we made, and one of the considerations for relocating the equipment room. But
Did they have any issues then regarding the curb opening
on which street?
along Orange Grove?
No.
No. So
they didn't.
this is to their satisfied. They've seen these plans.
They've reviewed it.
They've reviewed this.
And the only condition which they reviewed was the one, was one of the conditions, I believe.
Okay, I think, is that the one about the attendant?
Yeah, the attendant.
Okay.
That's the only
That's
thing
the
that they
perfect
have.
segue, because I have a question for the applicant regarding the attendant. So the condition is, and have you had a chance to review, you're the operator, correct?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to review the recommended conditions? Okay. Do you agree with them?
I do. It's just standard procedure. We do always have a tenant on duty at my other Burbank location most of the time to help with bringing people in the stalls,
Sure.
to help clean up the facility, to oversee, to have people go into stalls that if they're waiting behind another one, they can go to an open one.
So he'll be kind of controlling the traffic flow and kind of helping
exactly.
facilitate the activities and arrivals for
Yes.
patrons.
Yes, that's our standard procedure at our Burbank location.
And how does that work? I would assume it helps.
Oh, it helps. It helps
And
tremendously.
he's there all the time?
Yes.
During hours of operation, of course.
Yes.
So that condition is that there shall be an on-site attendant at all times to ensure that all customer vehicles queue on site. If vehicles are backing out onto the public right-of-way, a time limit of 3 minutes shall be set per bay, and attendant shall close off bay on the far west side of the property. That's the bay closest to Glendale Avenue. Do you agree with that condition?
Yes.
Okay. I have more questions for you, no particular order, but just for clarification. So let's go back to that pop-out. We need to set that back 10 feet, and I'll have your other member of your team speak when it's their turn. But that potentially would be a zoning issue.
The pop out is about a little bit more than 1.5 feet. It's just to make the building square and for aesthetics look. It's not really usable. Again, to make it square, that's a Glendale Avenue. We're trying to make it as beautiful as we can. We're in the downtown district area, so as much as beautiful as we can make it, that's why we kept keep it square, but usable inside. I know we're not going above the 10 feet. You can see it's cut off at the 10 feet inside. It's just a pop out is to make it aesthetically beautiful.
It just still may be a potential, just when you go through plan check,
Okay.
if and when this moves forward. There are avenues or vehicles, like another administrative exception request, to have embellishments that protrude from the building, that encroach into the setbacks. So, and then Danny could follow up with you on that, but
Can I also have my architect speak about that?
yes,
Because he's
yes.
more aware of.
I will have the rest of the group speak, and whoever didn't fill out a speaker card. I have the only second speaker card I have is Cynthia Abahi. I don't have anyone else. So if your architect needs to speak, he needs to fill out a speaker card. But yeah, let me move on to the next question. To emphasize, the parking attendant would be there until closing, no matter whether it's 10 o'clock or,
Correct.
okay. Oh, how do we, how does one pay? Like, does the attendant take care of that? Do we have to go to a kiosk?
So each bay has its own separate meter, which accepts quarters, bills, and credit cards.
Oh, okay.
And if that person wants to pay in either method, we have it available for them in each stall.
So that's convenient.
Yes.
So no one has to get out of their car, park, then to go
No.
to an attendant or to a kiosk to pay.
Sometimes if they need change, we have a change machine located center of the building. That's why the building's centered, because everyone can meet in the center point. But again, not too many people are getting change all the time. They use credit cards.
And there's no retail component at all to this business, like you're not selling, like some car washes, traditional car washes, like sell things.
Like a convenience store?
Exactly.
We don't have
You're
that.
not doing anything
No.
like that. This is strictly just for self-service car wash.
Self-service.
Go in, wash your car, vacuum.
Leaf, exactly.
Okay. Do you have blowers or anything like that that could generate potential noise?
This type of car wash concept, we don't use any blowers, so that reduces the noise tremendously. Typically, car washes generate a little noise because of the air dryers. We don't have that, so that's what really makes our car wash model more efficient, quieter, and better for the community.
So how does one dry the car?
We use spot-free rinse, where they spray a special water on it, and it can just air dry by itself. And also, we have the areas where they can vacuum and wipe it down if they like.
So having said that, do you foresee that this self-service car wash could generate any potential significant level of noise with, now that you mentioned there's no blow dryer or dryers, anything else that could cause noise?
We have vacuums that are in the back, but they're super quiet. They are the small little motors that you have at your house, like a hair dryer. I know that I'm waiting for the manufacturer to provide me a decibel reading, but I know it is really quiet. Firsthand, because I have my Burbank location. They're not loud at all. And also, we have an 8-foot sound barrier wall along the adjacent property that's on the C zone. Mm-hmm. So that also creates a sound barrier.
Some buffer
trap.
there?
Yes.
How high is that wall going to be?
That wall will remain the same height.
And what is it? Oh, so it's an existing wall to remain.
Yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know the height?
It's 8 feet.
And that's along the east side of the property line?
Yes.
Or east side of the property?
Where Orange Grove is.
On the subject site?
Yes.
Just on the east side of the property? Okay. Are you open 7 days a week, or is that what your intent is?
Yes. Typically, the self-service car wash operation is open 7 days a week. Typically, it's 24 hours. My Burbank location's open from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. We noticed that there's no one really coming in after at that time, so we just shut the lights off and end it at that time. During winter time, usually people stop coming in a few hours before that, because it's colder and nobody wants to be around that.
So the recommendation in the staff report was 10.
Correct.
Okay. Are you amenable to the 10 p.m.?
I would really like, if possible, to get 2 extra hours of wash time, especially during the summertime where it's hotter outside and people tend to come out later and stay out later. During winter time, it really slows down. No one comes in later after 7 or 8 o'clock, but summertime, that's when we generate a little extra business coming in and more convenient for our customers.
Okay. You understand my concern, though, with the 12 midnight, because there are residential uses adjacent directly to the east.
Right next to us is a commercial lot, and we're not that close to residential. I believe at least 70 feet from the back portion of the wall where the vacuums will be to the next apartment building. But from the frontage, we're a little bit more than that. And then any type of noise would be, if there was any use from the vacuums, or all the way directly in the back where the back wall is. and that's going through all that space and also through that wall. It's really super quiet.
Considering that you have an existing or similar operation, have you ever conducted any reports or anything on the noise decibels that occur there that you could, or something that you could supplement?
I can provide that if you request that. I'm waiting for my vacuum manufacturer company to provide
Or
me
maybe in the future,
Sure.
if we move forward with this, so that we can see how the noise situation is happening there, and would that potentially, or could it potentially be a nuisance?
I can provide you that information if you need a sound decibel reading, what my Burbank location is, and I can give you also. I'm just waiting on the manufacturer to provide me a decibel chart to show you how quiet the vacuums are.
Okay.
I was supposed to receive it yesterday, actually this morning, but I haven't gotten it yet because they're doing it. They have two types of charts. They have one with the standard motor, and they also have the one with acoustic block sound kit on it, which reduces the noise tremendously. So they're just doing the testing right now on that.
Okay. Well, when you do receive that, then please submit it to Danny, and we'll look at that so we have some additional supplemental information to review.
Okay.
I'll consider your request, but I'm not going to guarantee that. Okay. I still have some concerns. I see what you're saying and how the noise would be buffered, but I'm going to consider it, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
We're not a traditional full service car wash where we generate more income per person.
Sure.
We're running at maybe $4 or $5 per car. So by that, 2 extra hours helps bring in a little extra revenue, especially during winter times. The past 4 or 5 months, it's been, everyone's been, no one's been coming around since after 7:30, 8 o'clock. No one's there anymore. So that major loss of business during winter time helps us increase a little bit of extra income during the summer hours.
So the extended hours is mainly seasonal, is what you're requesting?
Yes, usually during the summertime when the time changes and it gets a little more warmer out, people tend to stay a little later. And also when people get off work a little later, they go home, they rest, they come after they want to cool down a little bit. Sometimes at summertime it's 90, 100 degrees outside and it cools down after 9:30. They just want to come out with their family, just rinse off their car, and giving them that little couple extra hours makes it a little more convenient for them.
And have you witnessed that you do have customers coming in at past 10 o'clock at midnight?
Usually midnight, we don't have anybody else. We don't want anybody else at that time. But usually before that, yeah, we do have customers.
Like 11 p.m.?
Yes, we do. We really do. Okay. A lot of people get off work late. They want to wait till it cools down. They rest, and then after work. So.
But it's not as busy, so we're not. I mean, and the attendant would still be there.
Yes. It's not as. I'm not getting most of my business during that time, but it's a little extra revenue generated. Because again, we're not capturing a lot of money per car. People are spending $3, $5 to wash their vehicle. So the amount of we lose during winter time helps supplement summertime, a little extra business.
Okay.
I was going to even ask if it's possible during the winter time if I can cut the lights off at that time, and then summer to stay a little extra would really be beneficial if once
So
I give you that.
Say that again. So during the winter months, you would.
I can still cut it down at 10.
Okay.
But in summertime, if I can stay a little extra, would really be beneficial.
I'll look into that.
Okay.
Into your request, and in the future, if we move forward with this, I'd like for you to generate a report, a noise acoustic report, so we can see what the noise decibel is.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Cynthia Abahi?
Actually, I don't need to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're here in support, or?
Yes.
Okay. Good. I'll write that down. Yes, thank you.
Good morning. My
Leo?
name is yes, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Leo Architect. Address 1445 Huntington Drive, Suite 230, South Pasadena.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Do you want to just discuss that embellishment at the front of the building that encroaches into the 10-foot setback?
yes. Okay. Yeah. Before that, may I answer just one question regarding the turnaround? Yes, we do work with the traffic department closely, and also they ask for the small vehicle turnaround maneuvering template, and we do copy on this to show this template. Make sure we have enough space for the car coming from Glendale, turn to Glendora, and coming
to Orange Grove?
Yeah, Orange Grove, and turn to the
Bay?
The bay. So once this is probably the most narrow the bay here.
I see what you're saying.
Even though this is a narrow bay, we don't have any issue. So that means that all the rest of bay we should have no problem for the car maneuvering. Yes, right. And regarding that tower, I've been in this car wash design business for more than 20 years. Richard probably is one of the most the car wash owner. He want to have a good quality the car wash. So you can see this one. He's trying to not only design a very uniform, square car wash, but he would like to have something to enhance this building. So that's why we suggest a tower at this corner. And for the most case, because this the shape of this lot, we do have some problem to meet that. We're trying to put a good proportion the tower. You can see that on that can I come over to
Sure,
point?
sure, come on. So point out the embellishment that's encroaching into the setback?
Okay, yeah. Can I show you from here? This
Yeah, so
here.
where is that on the elevation?
Yes. This corner here.
Okay.
Yeah. The main reason is when trying to create the kind of this tower as the feature, and also for the purpose to break up. If there's no tower here, there'll be only the very plain, the hip roof.
But it's really a small 1 foot 9 inch portion of that pop out that's encroaching. So it's quite de minimis. So why couldn't we get it? We're just going to need to get it to comply, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Because once we have this bathroom, we have to meet the handicap accessible. So that's a minimum. The inside the dimension.
But this you mentioned was an embellishment, so it's not floor area.
No, not floor area.
That's what I mean. So where is the embellishment? Is it the window or what?
No, mainly it's for this corner. We're trying to make this as a square. This tower is square.
Okay. Well, Danny, he's your case planner, so he could look into it further and make sure it complies with code. Which
Would you consider, since that's only the wall, solid wall, to make the tower a square? I'd like to know. Would you?
that's what I'm
consider?
saying is Danny could look into it further and see what or is there any
Exemptions.
exemption or anything that can be applied here.
Sure.
So
Okay.
we won't have that discussion now, but
Okay.
it's just an observation. I wanted to bring it to your attention and.
I understand.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Well, thank you. So I don't have anyone else in the public that wants to speak in favor or in opposition to this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the case under submission and issue the decision in writing. And as I stated before, once the decision has been issued, it'll be in writing and under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain the forms and brochures on the procedures from the Building and Safety Section Permit Services Center located on the same floor of this building. And with that, this case is now, or this hearing is now officially closed. Thank you for coming. And it is 10:17 in the morning. Thank you.